of the things I love about the Green Party is, A, proportional representation is high on the list, but parliamentary reform. I have a written guarantee. I have a written guarantee that says I will not be told what to say, and I will not be told how to vote. Not the other way around. That's what representative democracy is supposed to be. I will not be whipped. Free to speak my mind, vote my conscience, and represent my constituents. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so she asked me if I would work for the Greens. And if I would go take the green train across Canada and document the trip. And I said, I'd have to read your policy book first. Because I don't work for anybody. And I want to make sure that what you're about is what I'm about. When I read that policy book, I was amazed. I was like, holy crow, this is what I've been waiting for. I've read a few policy books, but this is a vision. This is a vision for the future. Parliament and tries to get unanimity for the things that she wants to do in Parliament, I believe her. She is a hard-working person. And eventually, she got me to yes. And so here I am. And now I would like to introduce to you this most persuasive, hard-working Member of Parliament and leader of the Green Party of Canada, Elizabeth May.
That Bruce Meyer and I were the only members of Parliament to vote against the Canada-Korea free trade deal that includes investor state. I have the same problem with people who tell me we can't be going into issues in an election campaign that require explaining what the issue is to get people to understand why we think it's an election issue when no one knows what it is. I actually believe in democracy. I think it's kind of a radical idea. And when there is something as insidiously anti-democratic as investor state provisions, I think we've got to get out there and tell people about them. I tried in the Maclean's debate. I got in a line about Stephen Harper has sold us down the river. I mean the Yangtze River. It's the title of this book. We brought a lecture tonight, so if you want to get one, they're over on one of these tables somewhere. It's a book by Gus Van Harten, who's a professor at Osgoode Hall Law School, one of the few experts in arbitration law in Canada who isn't making money off this scheme of arbitration investor state agreements. So, Sold Down the Yangtze. It's a very useful book to understand something that I think we've shown the light on it, but we need to have an action plan for how to deal with this. Because when this election is over, we're going to go to Parliament, and we're going to need to pass laws, because this very anti-democratic, massive sellout of Canada's sovereignty by Stephen Harper is locked in. I'm glad you're all sitting down. Well, for those of you who aren't sitting down, brace yourself. Locked in until the year 2045. I know. It's a quite extraordinary thing that this wasn't even voted on in Parliament, that it was done by an order in Council, secretly, and our candidate in North Island, Powell River, Brenda Sayers, on behalf of the Hookachusett First Nation, was still in court fighting this thing when they took it through an order in Council, which now I find out isn't even a full cabinet meeting. They just get 4 ministers to sign the paper. And that is how Stephen Harper sold us down the Yangtze till the year 2045. So we have to be prepared to know how to deal with this agreement, to try to get out of it, which will be impossible unless Beijing agrees to allow us to renegotiate. But the Green Party has come up with an action plan for what we can do to pass laws that will require what the treaty doesn't require. The treaty allows everything to happen in secret. Pressure from Beijing and diplomatic channels to make us drop our laws, all in secret. So we have to make it public. And we have to keep an eye on it. We have to be prepared to say, which is going to be a hard thing to say. If we lose in the arbitration process, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but this book will convince you, if nothing else will, the arbitration process is not a fair, neutral process. If we lose, when we lose, we will not cave. We will not give up doing the right thing to protect Canada, even if it means that thanks to Stephen Harper, till the year 2045, we may have to write checks to Beijing to defend our sovereignty and protect our waters and protect our health and protect our coastline. We have been sold down the Yangtze and no one wants to talk about it. And I think an election is a very good time to start talking about it. About Paul and me and Greens in general is we don't do things the way any other politicians do things. I don't know if you noticed that when he was standing here, he didn't have a note in front of him. I don't have a note in front of me. I was planning to start quite differently, so I'm going to start over again with what I'm planning to do, which is to again thank Geraldine Manson for the wonderful welcome, and to acknowledge people in this room whose support means so much to me. Paul's mentioned his parents. They're somewhere here. I know I saw Jim Manley earlier, but Jim, would you just stand up and say hello? Just wave from where you are back there. Stand up, Jim Manley. Well, he's not going to. Jim Manley is Eva Manley's husband. I've been choked up a few times in this election campaign by many things. But we did a press conference in Nanaimo a couple of weeks ago to launch the Veterans Platform of the Green Party of Canada. And we were joined and endorsed by one of Canada's most courageous, finest, most decent citizens, Captain Trevor Green. What Trevor said that moved me so much was that when he joined our military, he had wanted to wear a blue beret. He had seen his career being a peacekeeper. He had imagined playing a role in the world that would earn, as Canada has traditionally earned, the respect of the world. And Trevor, speaking from a position where no one could dare to doubt his patriotism or his courage after the horrific attack he experienced in Afghanistan, to say out loud that Stephen Harper has taken our fine reputation, and now Canada's reputation in the world is, I think you said, Trevor, it's a joke. It's the saddest thing to lose a reputation. So what I wanted to do now was talk about brighter days ahead, happier things, the ways in which we are not like any other party that makes me very happy. I watch the news sometimes, and I was watching the news the other night, and it was fascinating to read all the talking head feed. Watch them on the evening news. You'll notice it's almost a Green Party free zone, evening news. And I was watching all of them talk about how this is what political parties do. And, oh, is that what they do? And there was a whole feature on the stump speech. Apparently, I'm supposed to have the same speech to give at every event. Who knew? I'm supposed to have rehearsed and practiced this with spin doctors so we nail our message, so we don't go off message. Paul, is there a message for tonight? You didn't have me a note, honey. Here's my message. Someone, and unfortunately, if you saw that nice group of people all leaving, I didn't want to interrupt to say goodbye to them. But that was some of the folks from Saanich Gulf Islands, from Salt Spring Island, who undoubtedly had to all leave when Paul was giving a riveting address to catch the ferry. But they did give me, before they leave, a present from Nikki and Neil Smith on Salt Spring Island, which I think is our staying on message, which is, for the love of Canada. About what we stand for. And Trevor's message. We love this country. We know who we are. Stephen Harper doesn't. We know who we are in our heart and our soul and our spirit and our courage. We know that we're a country that wants to roll out a welcome mat for refugees, not make it harder for them to go into home and safe. We know that our healthcare system makes us different from south of the border, where even with Obamacare, they're still stuck with private for-profit healthcare providers. And guess what? If you want to make a profit providing healthcare, the system isn't as good. We know we have all the data in the world to prove that even as stretched and stressed as our healthcare system is in 2015, after the horrific cuts that happened to us in 1994 and 95, even as stretched as it is now, for less money, we get better care than south of the border. And we will not surrender our public, universal health care system ever. Back to trade agreements. Why can't we risk allowing two-tier health care? Because after all, some of us can afford it. And I hear people say, well, look, I rather than wait for a hip replacement, I waited. I've got both hips done now, but I tell you, each side took 1.5 years of waiting. But if you try to create a two-tier system, what's going to happen is we'll get a big fat lawsuit under NAFTA from the for-profit U.S. medicine providers. So for us, providing health care is a key part of our identity. Part of why we exist as a country that takes care of each other was that brilliant decision taken in the late 1960s to have a universal healthcare system held in trust for the public to ensure that no one went without medical care when they needed it. For us, it's a sacred obligation. South of the border, the U.S. for-profit people look at us and they see our healthcare system as a market. And they want in. That's why we have to be very, very careful that we pay attention to the Canada Health Act,